So I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that Ahsoka episode 4 is so far the best episode. Now, in saying that, there's still a couple of things that I'm kind of meh on, but overall, this is probably the best episode. This is definitely the most action-packed episode that we've had, and yeah, all the action is really cool, really fun. The opening fight where it's Ahsoka, Sabine, and Hugh Yang. I think that's how you pronounce the robot's name. Them all fighting against like the little soldier dudes. Pretty fun, pretty cool. I like the fact that Hugh Yang is like, you guys should stick together. You work better that way. And then like 10 minutes later, when they face up against the Dark Jedi, or whatever you want to call them, they just split off. And it's like, but he just said stick together, guys. And that might be partially why they kind of like have their little downfall near the end of the episode. But yeah, it's kind of a little nitpick, but it's whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But the fight against Ahsoka and the Inquisitor dude, really cool. Literally has like no problem taking her out. And then Sabine's fight with I actually pulled up their names for once, so that way I could actually, Shin, I think her name is. Yeah. So Shin is the girl, is the apprentice, and then Balin is her master. And then the Inquisitor dude, didn't pull up his name, but he's dead now, so it's whatever. But their fight is pretty cool. I like the fact that we get to see Sabine actually use some of her like Mandalorian skills instead of just pulling out the lightsaber right away. And she's still putting up a really good fight up against Shin. Near the end, when she's disarmed of her pistols and stuff, she does pull out the lightsaber, and she tells Ahsoka to go and try and get the map. Like I said, they do split up, which, whatever. I don't think that was the greatest move, but it's what happened. But their fight was still good. She still handles herself. She tries to use the Force again when she's disarmed. Again, I've been kind of lukewarm about her using the Force. I'm expecting her to use it by the end, but I do like the fact that they're kind of building up to it, even if it is obvious. But she's clearly trying, and, you know, it's not something that's just happening right away. But she does manage to kind of outsmart Shin by, even without, like, trying to use the Force and stuff. She does kind of outsmart her. She uses her little, like, grapple thing to, like, disarm her and then be able to get away and stuff, which is really cool. Again, I like seeing her use her Mandalorian skills, and it's cool to see non-lightsaber wielding people go up against Jedi or Sith that obviously do use lightsabers. Even though Sabine is now using a lightsaber, she's still focusing on her like Mandalorian skills, and those are still like her primary like weapons of choice, because that's what she's most comfortable with. But yeah, then we have the fight with Ahsoka and Balin, which is also really cool. I don't get, there's some times where Ahsoka is using a lightsaber, but she's very clearly more comfortable with using her dual blades, but she only uses one in a couple of the scenes in this. She does eventually pull out her second, if I'm remembering right. But like, I mean, I guess it makes sense in her fight with Balin, because her whole objective is to get the map, so I mean, she would need a free hand, and she does eventually get a hold of the map. But I don't know, I find it kind of weird that she's only using like one lightsaber in a lot of these instances, and then decides later to use the second one when she's getting serious or whatever. It's like, well, I don't know. You can make the argument either way, but, and we've seen her use her dual lightsabers plenty of times already in these last couple of episodes, so I guess it's not that big of a deal, but, you know, just minor things here and there. Their talk about Anakin and, you know, obviously Balin is a Jedi from the Order back in the day of the Clone Wars, and him being like, oh, Anakin, everybody talked about him. Very few lived to see what he became, you know, trying to, like, poke and pry at Ahsoka and try and get her kind of off edge, because that is a very touchy subject for her. We don't necessarily know how she feels about Anakin. Obviously, like, she still respects him, and she still, like, has that admiration for him, like, being her master and stuff. But after him becoming Vader and then their fight during Rebels, we don't know, like, how she feels fully, if that makes sense. So that's still probably a really touchy subject for her. Again, I have not seen Boba Fett. I know that, or the book of Boba Fett, rather. I know that Ahsoka and Luke kind of have a conversation in that, and if there is more insight into that, I apologize, but I have not watched that yet, so correct me if I'm wrong. But regardless, I do think that it is a touchy subject for Ahsoka. But their fight is really good. Sabine comes in near the end, and unfortunately Balin is kind of overpowering Ahsoka and knocks her off the cliff. And so Sabine has to make the choice of keeping the map, or rather destroying the map, so that way nobody can get it, because if Ahsoka couldn't take this dude on, then she sure as hell isn't going to be able to. And then Balin starts poking and prying at Sabine, kind of being like, oh, well, this could be your only way to find Ezra. Ezra is kind of like the only family you have left. Like, do you really want to lose that? Is that really worth it? Blah, blah, blah. And it's frustrating because the obvious choice is to just destroy the map, but at the same time, it's understandable with the choice. You can see why she makes the choice she does, because to an extent he is right. Like, Ezra and Sabine are close, and he kind of left everything to her, so she kind of feels like she owes him, and he was kind of one of the only ones who understood her, even though you could argue Hera probably knows her even better. But regardless, he's one of the very few people that she has left in her life, and the chance to get him back, like, she doesn't want to pass that up. So while it's frustrating and it's annoying to see her hand over the map, I get it. It's just slightly annoying because it's obvious that you should just destroy the map and be done with it. It sucks, but, like, you would rather, like, Thrawn is literally, like, coming back if you don't, like, destroy the map and whatever. But, you know, maybe she thinks that, oh, we defeated him once, we can take him on again, whatever her reasoning is. I get it. It's just a little frustrating to see her make that choice. And then we see Hera. I think this happens a little bit earlier in the episode, but we see Hera take a little squadron and take them out to where Sabine and Ahsoka are, because if the New Republic isn't going to give them the authority to go and save them or send resources out there, then she's like, fuck it. I've done this before. I've disobeyed orders and done what I felt is right before, and we're gonna do it here. You know, I'm not gonna abandon my friends, especially when I know, like, what's at stake here. Again, Thrawn and Ezra and all of that. So she takes a little squadron out. We see when they finally do bring the map, or when they get all the coordinates from the map onto the ship, they, with Sabine on board, they jump through hyperspace into the new galaxy, and I'm assuming next episode we will get to see some of that, which is pretty exciting. Again, I'm pretty sure this is like the unknown region and stuff like that. We'll probably get like our first look at Thrawn, even though we've seen him in the trailers, but we'll get to actually like see him in the show and that kind of stuff. So I'm excited for that. And then the ending. So turns out Ahsoka didn't die or anything. I was kind of expecting her to be like on the side of the cliff, but it kind of blindsided me, and we actually see that she somehow got transported into like the world between worlds, or whatever it's called, the place that Ezra pulled her out of during Rebels, that kind of connects like all of space and time together. And I'm not the biggest fan of bringing time travel stuff into Star Wars. As much as I'm happy to have like Ahsoka back and everything, like I'm still kind of wishy-washy on how I feel about her coming back through that way, if that makes sense, because you open up time travel and it just opens up all types of different things of, well, why couldn't they just do this? Couldn't they just go in there and change this? And it's whatever. It's fine. But we get to see Anakin. We get our first look at Anakin and Ahsoka interacting in live action, and also since Clone Wars. The last time they spoke was right before she headed off to frickin' Mandalore to go capture Maul, and this is the first time that they're talking since then. And I will say, the CGI to like de-age him really didn't, like, you could so easily tell, like his face like was so like CGI'd and like off-putting, but it's fine. I wish it looked a little bit better, but it's whatever. We get to see them interacting, and so I'm curious, like I was talking about before, like we don't fully know how Ahsoka feels about Anakin and him being Vader and everything that's kind of happened. So this gives them the opportunity to kind of like talk and see like what happens out of that. Especially because at the end of the episode, right when it cuts, we hear the Vader theme. Now, I don't think that's like an indication that he is Vader, or like this is like dark side Anakin like talking through, or something to that effect. I don't think it's anything like that. But what I do think is that that's kind of going to be how their conversation starts, or like something that will be the main focus of their conversation, because, you know, she literally saw him at his worst and confronted him at his worst. And, you know, like, that's not something that Ahsoka is probably just going to be easily able to, like, brush off. Like I said, there's probably a lot of mixed emotions with her seeing Anakin right now. But I'm excited to see the next episode, see where that goes. I really want the majority of the episode being them talking, but I don't think it will be. I think a good amount of it will be, but we'll see what happens. But overall, really good episode. Like I said, probably the best one so far. A lot of good action, a lot of good, like, story beats that have happened. We get the potential return of Thrawn next episode. We get Hayden in live action talking to Ahsoka, and the fact that he opens with, "Hey Snips," like he stopped calling her that like near the end of Clone Wars. So for him to open with that, like a nickname that we haven't heard him call her in a while, it brings memories and nostalgia and hits you in the feels. So I'm excited to see the next episode, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions on it. Let me know your guys' thoughts and comments, or thoughts and opinions in the comments below. And yeah, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.